Assalamu alaikum viewers, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to make a very beautiful party dress for a 5-year girl, and you can make it for any age, and if you are making it for other ages you can change your measurements accordingly. And I'm using silk fabric and organza fabric for this dress. So 2 yards of silk fabric will be used and 5 yards of organza fabric, and it's a very beautiful golden brown color. And apart from these fabrics we'll be using this sequence lace for this dress. So let's get started. First of all, I'll fold the silk fabric in half so I get 2 layers of silk fabric, as you can see here, and the folded side is towards me. Then we check half of our waist measurement. Our waist measurement is 22 inches and half of it is 11 inch. The fabric is in 2 layers, that's why we are checking for half of the waist measurement. Otherwise, if the fabric is in 4 layers, we find out 1/4 of the waist, right? So we'll place our measuring tape in this way and check out where 11 inches lies. So it lies here. We'll mark at this point and check out the distance of this point from the corner, and that is at 8 inches from both sides. So we'll mark at 8 inches from that corner. In this way our waist will get a slight curve shape. And from this point we'll check for full length of the skirt, and that is 27 inches. So I marked at 27 inches from that point, and this point is at 35 inches from the corner. So from the corner we'll mark at 35 inches. So it becomes easy to mark for the full length from the corner. And 27 inches is the full length of the skirt when ready. I am not taking any seam allowance because the silk skirt would be at 2 inches lesser in length than the full length of the dress. And now we'll cut from these 2 lines we just marked. So I've cut the skirt from these 2 lines, and this is our 27 inches long half circle skirt. And now we'll cut skirt from organza fabric. So this is our organza fabric, and as I told you earlier, it is 5 yards of fabric, and the width of this fabric is 58 inches. We'll fold this fabric from one corner to the other one time and then one more time. So we folded this 5 yards of fabric twice, and we got 4 layers of the fabric, and this is the folded side. For the length of the skirt, we'll mark from the bottom to the top, and whatever fabric will be left at the top will be used for our waist. The waist would be wider because we'll make gathers at the waistline. So we'll get 2 half circles because the fabric is in 4 layers. So we'll place our measuring tape here, and I marked at 29 inches, keeping 2 inch seam allowance. And at the top, this is 16 inches fabric left, so that will be used for our waist marking. So I'll mark at 16 inches from that corner, and from this point the length of the skirt is 29 inches, and if you check it out from the corner, that is at 45 inches. So we'll mark at 45 inches from that corner for full length of the skirt. So after cutting the waist part, we'll get our 29 inches long skirt. Now we'll cut at these 2 marks. So this is our 29 inches long skirt. From this part we'll make the bodice, and this fabric will be used to make strips to make frill at the bottom. So I'm marking at a distance of 4 inches, as you can see here, to make 4-inch wide strips. And now we'll cut these strips. So I've cut all these strips 4 inches wide, and this fabric will also be used to make the strips while making the frill, and this part will be used to make the bodies. So these are 2 half circles, and the waist of the circles or the waist of the skirt is very wide because we'll make gathers at the waistline like this. So we'll join these 2 skirts at one end here, and at the bottom we'll fold the fabric 1 inch 2 times and first pin it and then stitch it on machine. So I have folded the fabric 2 times and pinned it in place, and now I'll stitch it on machine. So you can see here I've stitched it, and now we'll get the frill ready to be attached at the bottom of the skirt. So these are the strips we just cut from the organza fabric, and then considering the curves of these strips, we'll join all these strips together. So the curves should be aligning, right? So I've joined all the strips together. You can see these joints, and then we'll hem both the sides of these strips. But these strips are bias strips. These are stretched, you can see here, so we can't fold the edges twice and stitch here. We'll go for picot, and if zigzag stitches available in your machines, you can use it as I did, and if picot or zigzag stitch is not available in your machines, you can get it done from the market. Picot shops are everywhere. So it's looking very nice. It's a little bit time taking process, but it's looking very nice. It's worth it. And then we'll gather the strips from the center, and we won't go for a running stitch. We'll directly gather it on machine. The stitch line should be in the center, right? I'll show you it on machine. So you can see here I made this frill. It's looking very nice. And for that, this is the bottom of our skirt. The right side is facing us, and we'll place the strip on the bottom, and the needle should be in the fabric. We'll just slip this strip towards the needle and gather it like this. So the organza fabric is slippery, so it's very easy to make this frill. We don't need to go for a running stitch. It will take more time, and it is not required here at all. So it's very easy to make this frill. Simply slip the fabric, slip the strip towards the needle. The needle should be in the fabric, right? So you can see here it's looking very, very nice. I have attached the frill throughout the bottom of the skirt. And there is one important thing that I want to tell you, that this strip or the frill after being attached was a bit heavier, so it was bending inwards. And to fix this problem, after attaching the frill to the bottom, I hand stitched it from the bottom and the top of the frill. So it's easy but important to hand stitch it to keep the frill in place. And after this hand stitch, this running stitch, the frill was fixed in place, and you can see it's looking like this. Very nice, properly fixed in place, right? And now we'll take the silk skirt and hem the bottom of this skirt. So we'll fold it twice and pin it and then hand stitch it. I chose hand stitching for hemming the bottom of this skirt for proper finishing. I didn't stitch it on machine. As you can see here, it's nicely done. And to the waist part of this skirt, we'll attach organza skirt. So we'll first gather organza skirt from the waist part and then attach it to the waist of the silk skirt. And for gathering this organza skirt, we'll go for a running stitch. It will be easier to gather the fabric and it will look nicer. So you can see here I used running stitch to gather the fabric, and there is extra thread on one side. By pulling that extra thread, we can adjust the gathers. And we'll keep on adjusting the gathers and stitch the organza skirt on the waistline. So we have attached organza and silk skirt at the waistline, you can see here. And we'll stitch the side seams after attaching the skirt to the bodice. So we'll get the bodice ready first. And before that, we'll stitch an underskirt using lining and can for this dress. And for that, I used 2 pieces of lining fabric. Both were 27 inches long. I joined these 2 pieces at the center, you can see here, and then hemmed the bottom of the lining as well. And this can layer is 12 to 13 inches long, and I attached it 2 inches above the bottom. You can see here the stitch line. I took 2 pieces of can, pleated them, and pleated them down to the width of the lining fabric. And I joined 2 pieces of lining fabric. The width was much more than our waistline, so I pleated down lining fabric down to the waist measurement, that is 22 inches. So I pleated the lining fabric down to 22 inches. So underskirt is ready for now. We'll stitch the side seams at the end. Now we'll get the bodice ready. For the bodice, I took lining pieces. Both are 12.5 inches long, and the width of the front part is 15 inches and the back part is 16 inches wide. We'll fold the back part, place the front part on it, keeping the extra fabric at the center. We need this extra fabric because we need seam allowance when we'll attach the zip here. Now we'll mark for half of shoulder first at 5.5 inches. For armhole length, I'm marking at 6 inches. At this point, we'll mark for 1/4 of the chest at 6 inches and add 1 inch for cutting. We'll mark 1/4 of the waist here. I'm marking at 5.5 inches and at 1 inch we'll mark for cutting. For neck width, I'm marking at 2.75 inch and for neck depth 2.75 inch. Join these 2 points in a round shape like this. For back neck, I'm marking at 1.5 inches. Width will be same. Now we'll cut the back neck first. From this cutting mark, we'll draw a shape for back armhole and a bit deeper for front armhole. And now we'll cut back armhole first from the sides. Separate the back part, cut front armhole and front neckline. So we have cut the bodice on the lining fabric. We'll cut silk fabric and organza fabric using it as pattern. So I have cut silk and organza fabric using the lining as pattern. We'll separate the lining for now and place organza fabric on silk fabric, the right side of the silk, and stitch it from all sides to make it one piece. So I've stitched both the fabrics from all sides. Now it is one piece. It's easy to handle. And then we'll place the lining on the right side, but before that we are supposed to attach straps on the shoulders. So we'll get the straps ready. For the straps, I took 2 pieces of interfacing and 2 pieces of silk fabric. The bukram piece is 1.5 inches wide as our lace is 2 inches wide, and the length of this strap we need is almost 6 inches, but we'll keep the bukram piece 2-4 inches extra for seam allowance. So I took 10 inches long bukram piece, and the silk fabric is also 10 inches long but 4 inches wide because we'll fold the silk fabric and 1 inch for seam allowance. Place this bukram or pasting paper at 1/2 inch from one side and paste it here. So I pasted the interfacing or pasting paper and fold the silk fabric and stitch on this side. So I stitched on the longer side here, and reverse stitch is very important at the corners, and then turn the right side out. It's a little bit critical because there is pasting paper in between. So we'll simply turn the right side out like this and then press it. So I pressed both the straps and now attach it on the bodice. And for that, we'll mark at 2.5 inches down the shoulder. We'll do the same on the other side. And for front and back bodies both. So I marked at 2.5 inches down the shoulder. We need to give 2 marks on the strap as well. We need 6 inches wide strap. So we'll mark at 3 inches on fold. But the strap will be slanting a little bit, so we'll mark at 3 inches at the top, but at the bottom it will be attached like this. So we'll mark at 3.75.
We'll mark on the other side in the same way, 3 inches from the top and 3.75 from the bottom. And these marks will be aligned here on the margin. So we'll flip it, matching the right side of the strap and the bodice together. Align the marks on the bodice and the strap here, so it comes out here. We'll pin it. We'll do the same for the other strap. Match the marks on the strap and the bodice. It comes out here, so we'll pin it and then stitch the straps in place. We'll stitch here. So I've attached the straps in place. The marks should be aligning. Now we'll place the lining on the right side of the bodice.
I'm pinning the straps temporarily here so they don't come under the stitch line.
We'll place lining on the right side and stitch it from the neckline and armhole. So I pinned it first and then I'll stitch it. Make sure that the new stitch line comes over the previous one. So I stitched it from the armhole and the neckline, and then I folded the bodice and pressed it here at the center to give a mark at the center back, and I pinned here to make 2 stitch lines at the center back. After making the stitch lines, I'll cut from the center, separating the back bodice in 2 halves. Trim extra fabric, give a few notches, and then turn the right side out. And give it a very nice press. So I pressed the back bodice, and now we're going to attach the straps on the front bodice as well. It will be attached like this. So this part of the strap should be here. Again, match the marks on the strap and the bodice. Pin here and then stitch first. Do the same for the other side. Align the marks on the strap and the bodice. Pin and then fix the straps first. So I stitched both the straps in place and then place the lining on the right side and attach the lining from neckline and armhole. Pin it first and then stitch. So I've attached the lining from the neckline and the armhole. Trim extra fabric, give a few notches. And before turning the right side out, we'll attach the shoulders first. And for that, make sure that lining is facing lining and main bodice is facing the main bodice. Insert the shoulder like this and stitch here. Do the same for the other side. Adjust the shoulders properly and then stitch. So I've stitched the shoulders. Now pull the back bodice out, and you can see the shoulders are nicely done from the wrong as well as from the right side. Now give it a very nice press. So after pressing, we'll stitch the side seams, and for that match lining to lining and right side of main bodice to main bodice and stitch here. So I've stitched the side seams. The bodice is done. I'll unstitch a few inches at the center back from the bottom. Here it will be easy to attach the skirt to the bodice then, so I unstitched it, as you can see here, a few inches from the center back. And now we'll attach the main skirt to the main bodice and lining to lining. So this is the main skirt. We'll match the right sides together. From one end to the other end and stitch it here. We'll gather the skirt if it exceeds the waistline. So I gathered it, you can see here, and we'll do the same for the lining skirt. So this is the lining skirt. These are the right sides. We'll match the right sides together like this and stitch from one end to the other. The lining skirt to the lining bodice only. So I stitched the lining skirt to the lining bodice. So this is how it looks from the wrong side and from the right side. We unstitched a few inches from the center back. We'll stitch it again, and this time we'll stitch a few inches down the skirt as well, up to the point where we are supposed to attach the zip. So we'll match the right sides together and stitch here. It is a few inches down the waistline. We'll do the same on the other side. Match the right side of the lining and the main skirt. This is the bodice part, and we'll stitch a few inches down the skirt as well. So I've stitched the side a few inches down the skirt. And now we'll match the right side of the main skirt only. So this is the main skirt. We'll match the right sides together and stitch the side seam. We'll do the same for the lining. We'll match the right side of the lining together and stitch the side seam. So I've stitched the side seam of the main skirt and the lining. So you can see this is how it looks from the wrong side now. The side seams are done and the opening of the zipper is nicely finished. And from the right side, this is the front part, this is the back part. Side seams are done. The opening of the zipper is nicely finished. We are just supposed to place the zip under this opening and top stitch. So this is the zipper. We'll place it under this opening and top stitch. So I've attached the zipper as you can see here. Simply top stitch it. And now we'll attach lace on the bodice. And for that, we'll mark at 1.5 inches above the waistline, where we are supposed to attach the lace. At the back part as well, we'll mark at the center front, where we want our lace to be, and make a straight line aligning with the strap here, and on the other side as well, and the back part. So we'll simply place our scale aligning the strap and extend it to the center back and the center front as well. So I started from the center back and attached the lace on the line we just drew. And when we'll come to the center front and attach the lace upwards, there will be some extra lace at the center front. You can see here, this one, which should be adjusted. And for that, we'll fold the lace in the same direction 1 inch ahead of the center front, like this, and mark at the center front down to the corner of the lace, like this. So it will be a slanting stitch line here. So we'll stitch it here after pinning it first. Now we'll stitch from here. I stitched the lace where I marked, and now when we'll turn the lace upwards, it is nicely adjusted in place. So all the extra lace is stitched at the wrong side. Now we'll continue attaching the lace on the line we marked from center front to center back on this side as well, and we'll pin the lace first and then attach it. So I've attached the lace. As you can see here, it's looking very nice, and I attached it only from the top. It's free from the bottom, and I didn't stitch it on machine, I hand stitched it. This is the front part of the dress, and this is the back part. We'll attach a bow tie at the center back at the waistline. If you want to learn how to make a bow, you can comment me down below, and I'll upload a separate video on making of the bow. So I made a bow and attached it at the center back. On one side I stitched it with needle and thread, so it is fixed at one side, and on the other side I used a button so zip can go up and down easily, and the dress is done. This is the final look of the dress. I hope you like the video. Make sure to subscribe my channel if you have not already yet, and press the bell icon so you will get notification on every new upload. And thank you so much for watching. Allah Hafiz, till the next video.